What's up, y'all? It's your girl, the Biblio Geek, and here I am today. And that's Niobe. She may be in and out because, cats don't respect boundaries. So, anyway, I'm here today with another book review. I know it's been a long time, hasn't it? A lot of stuff has happened since the last time we've talked. I cut my hair, number one, again. I don't know how many times I've cut it. I think it's going to be short from now on. Cause I'm over it. I'm over hair. I'm over spending a whole lot of time on my hair. I'm kind of over it. So anyway, so today I wanted to talk about this book that I came across, and it's by Antoine Bandele, and it's called The Kishi. I'm gonna give you, if you hear like a bunch of like grumbling in the background, that's Niobe. She's upset with me right now. It doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter. So this is the book. It's called The Kishi. It's by Antoine Bandele. And really briefly, I just kind of want to talk to you about this. Number one, before I get started on what the book is about, I just want to just say that this is basically the book I've been looking for. I'm a fan of Lord of the Rings, and I'm a fan of Star Wars. I'm a fan of epic tales that are, that showcase a universe, if you will, with a lot of different races and different ethnic groups and how they interact with each other. And I'm here for all that. But the one thing that I was always asking myself and others who are also fans of Lord of the Rings and things of that nature, like, where are the African-based epic tales? Like, where are these stories? And so I was kind of going through basically what I do to find books to read. I just kind of scroll through like Barnes and Noble, and I go to, well, before COVID hit, go to bookstores, used bookstores or Barnes and Noble, brick and mortar, and just kind of look around. And I wasn't really finding anything. Then one day I was on, was I at the library? I think I saw it in the library. Like, I was looking through books at the library, public library, and saw this. And I was like, I'm getting my own copy. And so that's when I ran across this book. And of course, when I saw the cover, I was like, interesting. So I came across this, and I was like, let me just take a look at the back. And it says it's an African fantasy inspired by the Angola folklore of the Kishi. So I had to look up what the Kishi was because I had never heard of anything like that. So first of all, the Kishi it's a legend, basically. It's an Angola mythological creature. It's basically a shapeshifter. It's a race of shapeshifters, mostly men who can shapeshift into hyenas. And they are often identified by their long hair because, like you see on the cover of this book, the back of their head is where the hyena's face is, and it emerges out of the back of their head. So they are said in the folklore, they are said to be very charming when they are in their human state. They're to be very charming because what they do is they lure women into their grasp. They sometimes take them away from villages to either eat them or to impregnate them, and then they would die in childbirth because the way they describe the childbirth is horrific. And then the child will be raised as a shapeshifter and a man-eating shapeshifter after that. So yeah, it's not a book for kids. So there's that. But anyway, this novel, according to the author, is going to be part one of a series of novels. And if you look at the top, it says Tales from Eswan. Okay, so I guess what's going to happen is this is going to be a series of books based in this universe called Eswan. So it's going to be like a nation that is comprised of all these smaller nations, like a world comprised of smaller nations. Okay, so let's get into the story. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about it, and if you're interested in reading, you can go ahead. I won't tell you everything, so you can still have a little element of surprise. But the main character of this book is this guy named Amana. Now, Amana is studying to be a monk. He is a man with a past, a very violent past, and he's kind of on the path to changing his life to a more peaceful, a more balanced life. Okay, so he's studying to become a monk among the, what are they called? The Junga order. It's a particular order of holy men. Okay, and he's been studying under this order, and he hasn't quite become a monk yet. He has one more thing he needs to do. So he's on, when we first see him at the beginning of the book, he's kind of on a quest to find this holy man by the name of Uzoma. Uzoma is like renowned throughout the region as this holy man who has these special powers, and he's like the monkiest of the monks. Okay, so he's looking for this guy, and he's on a river. He's kind of getting ferried down this river in this canoe, and he notices that there's this festival going on. So he asks to get dropped off at this festival. He's curious. He's like, what's all the hubbub, bub? Like, it's like dancing and colors and music and beautiful women and people in get-ups. So he gets off at this festival. Comes to find out that what's going on is a wedding. And it's a wedding between two nations. The Yaseti and the great village of Bayok. They are getting together. They're basically merging through a marriage, which is known to happen throughout history. You hear about kingdoms marrying, the daughter from one kingdom, the son with another kingdom, so that they can form an allegiance. So that's what's happening here. Okay. So Amana gets there, and he's kind of, he's a stranger in the land. Neither one of the nations knows Amana. They've never seen this guy before. Okay. But he's hanging back, and he's watching everything that's going on. All right. So meanwhile, while all that's happening, there are these two young girls. They're best friends, and they're hanging out, and they're kind of like boy crazy. And they're like, ooh, look at all the men. Da, da, da. Okay. One of them's name is, let me get their names right here. Imani is one of them. And then Imani has a best friend. Her best friend's name is Yejide. Yejide, I hope I'm saying that right. Okay, so they're all having a good time. And then all of a sudden, Imani sees this really attractive man. Okay, it's not Amana. It's a different guy. And she's like, who is this? And he's a good dancer, right? Like, he's showing his best moves. He's out there doing it. He's getting loose. She sees him, and he sees her. Right? And so he comes up to her, and he's all like, hey, baby, how you doing? How you like my moves? Check me out. And she's like flirting with him and all this kind of stuff. But then her friend, Yejida, is like, you don't even know this cat, man. Like, who is this cat? So, of course, the guy is like, why don't you come? Can we go find another place where we could be alone or we could talk? My lipstick, sorry about that. So we could, find a place where we could be alone and talk. So he kind of moves her away from the festivities, right? And, the girlfriend, Yejida, is like, girl, don't you go with him. Don't do it, girl. Don't do it. You don't even know him or nothing. But it doesn't matter. She goes off with him, and he takes her away, and he's all, schmoozing up on her and all this kind of stuff. And she's feeling him, right? Hard. She's feeling him. And then all of a sudden he changes, and he transforms into this hyena, and he attacks her, right? Okay, so when that happens, Right after that happens, Amana, who is, looking at the festivities and kind of walking around the perimeter, and he's trying not to, draw too much attention to himself, he kind of wanders off. When he wanders off, he sees the girl, Imani, laying in the grass, and she is mortally wounded. Okay, this hyena worked her over. It's bad. It's a mess. Okay, so he tries to he goes over and tries to help her because she's still alive. So he's like, oh my God, what happened? Who did this to you? You got attacked by a wild animal. It's terrible. Right when he's standing over her, here come the villagers. Here come warriors from the two villages, right? Because by this time she had been gone for so long that Yejide rang the alarm, like, my friend's missing. I don't know where she is. She was with some guy. He took her. They walked off, and I haven't seen her since. So, of course, once that happens, all of the warriors are looking for her, right? So they roll up on Amana as he's standing over Imani's body, who by this time has died, okay, from her injuries. And so they blame Amana. They're like, we don't even know you, cat. Like, who is this? Like, all of a sudden, he's this strange dude. And so they arrest him, okay? Meanwhile, Amana, who, remember I told you he has a past, and he's seen some things. He done been through some things and some stuff. So he had a chance to look at Imani's injuries, and he's like, I've seen these injuries before. So he knows about the Kishi, right? The Kishi are these shapeshifters. And he's like, this looks like the work of a Kishi. And he starts to talk about it, and he's like, you guys, this is not me. I did not do this, but this looks like the work of blah, blah, blah. And they're all like, hyenas? Shape-shifting men who shape-shift into hyenas? That's ridiculous, right? But what ends up happening is the shaman from one of the villages comes along, and he's like, no, he's telling the truth. And that looks like what he said it is. Y'all need to let him go. Now, meanwhile, the shaman who's been kind of reading him sees that not only does Amana have a past, but Amana has a special gift. He can see the future. So what ends up happening after a series of events is that they grab the two villages, or the two nations, each of them sends a representative from their warriors, and they put together like a council to go and find, because what ends up happening is they want someone to find the guy / hyena Kishi that killed her. And at this point, someone has taken another girl from one of the villages. So this ends up being basically an adventure / mystery, right? So they're trying to find these shape-shifting men and figure out, like, and to get rid of them. And first of all, try to save the other girl before they kill her, because what they figure out is the other girl that they took was part of the royal family of one of the villages. So they assume that the Kishi is going to take her and impregnate her instead of just killing her like they did Imani. This is going to be a different situation, and they have to get to her before that happens. So that's basically what this book is about. Is about them tracking these Kishi, and this book has everything. It has war. It has a huge fight scene. It has a little bit of romance. It has humor. It has everything in it. And if you're looking for something, if you're like me and you're a fan of fantasy type books and you like fantasy, I think you should read it. I'm really glad that this book exists, because I feel like there needs to be a little bit more representation of people of color and cultures of color in fantasy, in science fiction, in all types of literature, not just, because our stories are varied, and our stories, we have lots of stories, and it's not just urban stories. It's not just stories about, teen angst. It's not just any one story. We have multiple stories. It's not just about child warriors or child soldiers and things like that. It's not just about that. We have many stories, and we have stories that we've made up that come straight from our imagination. And we have stories that come from our imagination that are based on legend and based on ancient belief systems. And we have all of that. So we need to see all of that. So that's why I love this book. And I want to thank you, Antoine Bandele, for this. This was great. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I can't wait to read the rest of the books that come out in this series. And I highly recommend this book to others. Those of you who are interested, make sure you get a copy of your own. And that's all I have for today. And next week, I will be back with another book report or book review, however you want to say it. But yeah, so hope you guys have a wonderful day. And I guess I should do like a little, let me see, try and do my little screenshot, get my books in the background. Okay. All right. So I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon. All right. Get yourself a copy.